where they had not much earth. And forthwith they sprung up, because they had no depthness of earth. And when the sun was up, they were scorched, and because they had no root, they withered away. And some fell among thorns, and those thorns sprung up and choked them. But others fell into good ground, and brought forth fruit, some in 100-fold, some 30-fold, and some 60-fold, and some 30-fold. Who hath ears to hear, let him hear. Now we're going to skip down to the 18th verse. Hear ye therefore the parable of the sower. When anyone heareth the word of the kingdom and understandeth it not, then cometh the wicked one, and catcheth away which was sown in his heart. This is he which receiveth seed by the wayside. But he that receiveth seed into stony places, the same is he that heareth the word, and anon with joy receiveth it. But yet hath he not root in himself, but dureth for a while. For when tribulation or persecution ariseth because of the word, by and by he is offended. He also that receives seed among the thorns is he that heareth the word, and the care of this world and the deceitfulness of riches choke the word, and he becometh unfruitful. But he that receiveth seed into good ground is he that heareth the word and understandeth it, which also beareth fruit, and bringeth forth some in 100-fold, some 60, some 30. So I'm just going to break down the different types of soil and to make it a little bit more plain. It says that, behold, a sower went forth to sow. The sower represents Jesus or God. It says that the sower started to sow seed, and the seed represents his word. Now this is where you sit and think about what I'm about to say to answer the question of what type of soil are you? The seed that fell by the wayside was eaten by the bird. This represents people who hear the word, but the word doesn't take root because of their focus being on everything but living for God. Amen. These people are sinners who come to church, they hear the word, and they go back out and they do exactly what they were doing before they came in. Amen. This causes the word to have no effect. They hear the word, they understand the word, but in their heart they still choose to go out and do the same thing. Somebody say, you have to have a changed heart.
You have to have a changed heart.
The seed that fell on stony ground and sprouted up but then got burned by the sun represents the ones who are pro-Jesus when everything is good. But as soon as trouble comes, as soon as something happens, they run and tuck their tails and they act as if they don't know who Jesus is. All right. This is just people who remind you of when Jesus asked the disciples, who do you say I am? And only one could identify who they were, who he was. Don't be like the disciples who couldn't identify who Jesus was. Don't run and tuck your tail, but know who Jesus is. When you hear the word, allow it to go down and take root in you. Don't just let it come up and then as soon as you go out, it means nothing to you. Yes. It says the seed that fell on thorn bushes and once it grew was choked, represents those who hear the word but are too worried about everything else that's going on, the money or whatever it is. These are the people who are worried about materialistic things that they won't be able to have anymore. They're worried about what their friends may think of them once they come over on this side. They're worried about who's going to leave them or who not going to be there for them. They're worried about all the things that they have to give up once they come on this side. All of this represents the people who are being choked. The word means nothing anymore. When in your mind you're sitting, you listening to the word, but in your head you're thinking, oh, if I get saved, or when Pastor do altar call, if I get saved now, I can't do this no more. If I get saved now, my friends ain't want to be my friends no more. It shouldn't matter what nobody else thinks. It shouldn't matter about nothing that happens outside or nothing that happens in the world. The word has to go in. The heart has to be changed so that you can come over into this side with the Lord. Amen. Amen. But then you have the people and the seeds that fell on good soil. This represents the people who allow the word to go and take root in them. They start to live by the word. They start to walk in the word. You can tell the difference in them because they start to bear fruit. Have you ever had somebody that you knew once and they were mean, they were rude, had attitude problems, but as soon now that you see them and they're in the church and they're in God, you can see a difference in their lives. That's what it's about. If you can't see any difference in someone's lives, they have nothing to show for it. If God already lets us know that if a tree bears no fruit, it is cut down and withered away. I don't want to be cut down, so I'm striving to have good soil. Some may say, why is this important? It's important because God lets us know that in the was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God.
Yeah.
If the Word can't get down on the inside of us and take root and start to grow and be productive, then we can't even have Jesus, because without His Word, we don't even have Him. We're not connected to Him. In order to have good soil, we have to allow God to change our hearts and change our minds.
Yes.
By asking God to create in us a clean heart and renewing us the right spirit, and also to transform us in our minds.
Yes.
And some may say, how do I get good soil? It's not easy, it takes work. Just as Pastor was saying before, we have to go and we have to till the ground. We have to do the work in order for the soil to bear anything. In the natural, in order for the soil to be good enough to produce anything, there's a process that has to happen. The first thing is, and I want y'all to hear this, not just what I'm saying naturally, but spiritually.
Yes.
The first thing is the weeds and the grass have to be removed. Anything that's not right in that soil has to be taken out. You have to dig into the soil, deep down in the soil. You have to do it with a shovel, a fork, or a tiller, and break up any clods, remove any debris or any stones, any trash, so that when you go to sow the season, or when God goes to sow seeds in it, there's nothing under it that can stop it from taking root. Then you have to level everything back out. You put the soil back in and you level it out. That means that sometimes if you're only good in your faith, now you have to build your strength. Now you have to build your peace. Now your kindness has to come in. Everything else has to be leveled out within you. Then the soil has to constantly receive nutrients. You have to constantly be building yourself in the Word, constantly seek God, constantly be praying, constantly read His Word. But most of all, the very important thing is the soil must have water. The soil has to be watered, and the Lord is our water. You have to continue to be watered by God and allow Him to continue to bring forth the fruit and the good soil that's down in you. We have to be willing to go through that process, because again, God already tells us if we don't burn and we don't bear fruit, we are cut down, withered, and thrown into the fire. But I don't know about you, I want to be fruitful. Strive to be fruitful. I strive to be fruitful. We all have to strive to be fruitful. Work on becoming good soil, that when Jesus is trying to plant in you His Word, that we're able to be receptive and able to produce fruit.
Amen.
Amen.